Hello, 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 and welcome back to another episode of the USL Show. We are back with yet another interview. We've done like 3 of these lately. It's unheard of for me. Don't get too used to it because I'm about to teach again. So I don't have the time that I used to. Um, Thank you so much for popping in. And thank you to our wonderful patrons John Hunt, Frank Anthony, Aaron J., Christopher Cohn, Harry Austin, John Fuller, Michael Fuchs, Joshua Duder, Noah Telford, Alberto Aguilar, Jeremy Churchman, Stephen Howard, Rion Lacara, Tim Knox, NF Reg 30, MOS Kunal Patel. Thank you guys so much for helping sponsoring us. And thank you to goals.tv for sponsoring us. There are a lot of you who are watching this interview on goals.tv, so we really do appreciate that. And if you haven't checked it out, check out our new sponsor, new partnership that we're super excited about, addedtimeoutfitters.com. They have all those cool wristbands that you can find that have like your team's colors and like just some like hints of stuff, including a really cool one that's Sacramento themed that is super fun. And if you use our code USL, you can get 10% off your entire order. So buy like, I think they're like $12. So buy like 10 of them. It's $120. Use our code. You get $12 off. It's like nothing. $102. You can do that easy. So check that out. Code USL. The reason I bring up the Sacramento one, as you know, we are going out to Oakland for Oakland versus Sacramento this Sunday. We have a lot of good content coming with that. But obviously, we would not be able to do that if it wasn't for the wonderful coaching to get his team into the best places possible to make this match so exciting of the coaching of one Mark Briggs. Mark, man, how you doing?
I'm good, mate. How are you? And thank you for having me on.
Mark, and you have accomplished so much since coming stateside. I mean, multiple time coach of the year, winning, first in the league several times. And you guys have made runs. You've done the cup run. You made it to the final of the US Open Cup, but this is the first time that Sacramento has been on just network television on CBS, and it's for a regular season match and for a massive Northern California derby. What does it kind of mean to you and the club?
Yeah, I think for myself and the club, it's a privilege to be on the main CBS network. It also shows where the leagues come. It shows the quality within the league. So it's obviously a good thing for everyone. I think a good thing for everyone to be able to be on a national network, to really broadcast the USL and show what USL is all about in a game that means so much to two communities and two teams. And obviously for us as Sacramento and Oakland to be able to show the quality that they have in their organisation and the quality we have in our organisation. I think it's a positive in so many ways.
You talk about the quality. I mean, we can talk about the quality of your squad. Obviously, you guys were just eliminated in the U.S. Open Cup, but it was not through the lack of an incredible showing by you guys. It obviously the goal is to make it to the finals. You've done it before. You want to win it all, but in the end, it didn't end up working out. How did you feel about this year's Cup run as opposed to the ones in years past?
Yeah, I think look, when you make the final, and we're very proud of that because we made the final probably in the last year that it was the Open Cup as you wouldn't be used to seeing it. Every team enters it, the prestigiousness about it, and then the following years after that haven't quite been the same. So we're really pleased and obviously proud that we were able to make the final, and it was a fantastic achievement. But we didn't win, so we got to the final, and obviously for a lower level a second division team to be able to accomplish that and do that, it's magnificent. And now Indy 11 have an opportunity to do that themselves. But I think it's this year's cup run had its moments again. I love the competition, and I think when you have your leadership that so enjoys the competition and puts a lot of emphasis on it and puts a lot of passion on it, that bleeds through to the players. And I think it's something at this club that we take extremely serious, that we want to do well in every year. And this year was no different. I think we had a good show against Monterey Bay, and scored a couple of goals and got ourselves into the next round. And then obviously the San Jose Earthquakes game was probably one of the most um, exciting games I've. Not exciting for me as the coach, but for anybody watching the game, was an extremely exciting game. And for us to go down and then equalise, then go up, then they equalise late, then they go in front in extra time, and then we score 2 goals in a minute to win the game in extra time. I think it's just the beauty of the cup, right, and the reason why we want to be in that competition, and why I think it's so important that competition continues to run and continues to be recognised. And then obviously that put us in the quarterfinals with Seattle Sounders. Um, Obviously in the rounds leading up to that, Seattle didn't play their what would be perceived as their starting 11 against Louisville, then against Phoenix. They played very strong teams, but not their MLS team. So we were expecting that same lineup. Obviously, we didn't get that lineup. We got their full strength MLS roster, their full strength team, and I felt I was really pleased with the performance. I felt we gave them too much respect in the first 15, 20 minutes. Um, and we first goal we conceded, obviously a deflection at the edge of the box, and deflects in and puts us on the back foot. But I felt like we still had some momentum. We still were doing some good things. And then the second goal, obviously we make an error, and Jordan Morris punishes us. And that's when you play these top players, that's what happens. But second half, I thought we came out, we adjusted things slightly at half time, and I thought second half we really managed to put them on the back foot. We obviously scored a goal early and gave ourselves some momentum. Scored an equaliser, but VAR penciled it off. So we made ourselves look like a decent team, and put Seattle on the back foot, and represented USL in a positive way. But it wasn't to be enough on that night, unfortunately. But another fantastic cup run, and something that I'm sure in the future I'll look back on and be proud of.
You talk about just kind of the AR, kind of wiping that one off. I When I was watching the match, and it's the same way with the San Jose match, just the energy and the stadium was unbelievable. One of my favorite things that I see whenever I watch a match on TV, especially at Sacramento, is that when Sacramento scores, the camera can't stay still. It is the whole place is just rumbling. When you're on the field, obviously you're coaching, you're trying to tell guys to stay in the moment, and you're trying to celebrate with the people around you, but not get too caught up in it. How do you not get too caught up in what's surrounding you there? It's so special.
It is. It is. It's very. I don't know if they showed it on the TV cameras, but even the second half, when we came out for the second half in the Seattle game, as we walked out of the tunnel, the whole stadium was lit up by people's phones. And it just gives an energy. It's an environment that I'm extremely fortunate to be able to coach in on a weekly basis. My players are fortunate enough to be able to play in it. And I think for those nights, whether it be Open Cup games, playoff games, big league games, there's no better atmosphere, in my opinion, in USL. And we're very fortunate to be able to be in it, and take it all in on a weekly basis.
I want to talk about your time as a player just for a little bit, because you did have a little bit of time in the USL, but let's go back over the pond, if you will. And you're a guy from the Midlands. You did play at West Bromwich, but you're from Wolverhampton. Are you a
Yep.
Wolves? Were you Wolves growing up?
Yes, I'm still Wolves. Always have
Okay.
been Wolves. My family are all Wolves. But my dad's very old fashioned, and I signed for West Bromwich Albion when I was 12 years old. Um, and I'd been training with them, and other clubs had been trying to get me, but West Brom were the first club to say, we want Mark. Here's a schoolboy form at the time it was called, and my dad shook hands with the academy director at that time, Richard O'Kelly, and to my dad, that's it. That's it. Contract done. He's at West Brom now. Anyway, 2 weeks later, Wolves came. Now we're all
Mm.
Wolves. My whole family's Wolves, and I don't know if you know, but in England,
Yeah.
it's there's huge rivalries, and my dad said no. He's going to West
Wow.
Brom. He's already,
Wow.
and it caused some tension between my uncle and my dad, two brothers, and yeah, there was a little falling out and a few choice words over a little period of time. But that's just how my dad is, and that also shows you like what football means to people.
Well, I was going to kind of mention because like there's so many big clubs in the Midlands, especially when you look at the area. You look at Wolves, you look at West Bromwich, and then you see like Villa, and then you see Brum, right? Like there's a
Yeah,
lot of big clubs around there that absolutely despise each other, and obviously you see Second City Derby between Villa and Brum, but like West Brom and Wolves. I mean, there is equal amounts of hate between those two as there is between Villa and Brum. So like that's a hard part to be on the other side of the rivalry.
yeah, it was. It was, look, I was a young boy coming through and was so fortunate to come through at the club I did and learn from the people that I did. But yeah, it's a it's a very real rivalry. I was out one night in Wolverhampton with my friends, and I just started to become a pro and be around the first team and be a little more recognised, I guess you would say. Um, and each club has, it's not talked about, but hooligans, let's say.
Sure.
Um, One of the main guys for the Wolves is named Tyson. Uh, I was in the bathroom, and he came in and was like, "What are you doing in Wolverhampton? Why are you in Wolverhampton? Basically, get out of Wolverhampton." Um, and that just shows you how it is. There's certain things and certain places you can't go when you represent one team, even though I'm from Wolverhampton.
Yeah. I guess this is a bad time to mention my cat's name is Zulu. Uh
Yeah, that's
not the best.
yeah, that's actually the Birmingham fans are known as the
Yeah.
Zulus.
Yeah. I figured I'd throw it out there just in case he does run in here and you're like, whoa, hey man, I didn't.
Relax,
Uh,
relax.
so you pop around a lot after that. You go, you stay in Europe and then you come to the US and you go to what then PDL and now USL League 2, right? Uh, Going from playing at a club like West Brom to coming to like the US and playing in the PDL, was it a bit of a shock for you or was it just football?
A little bit of both. It was obviously between my time at West Brom and the time I came to America, there was a lot of clubs in between.
Mhm.
Spent some time in Denmark, spent some time in the lower leagues in England, spent a little bit of period in India, Malta. So there's a lot of places, and I'd honestly lost the love for the game a little bit. Um, wasn't in a good place in regards the game and wanting to be a part of the game anymore, and just lost general interest and general love. And a friend of mine, Stuart Riddle, asked me to come over. He said, "Look, just come over and play in the PDL for a few months and put your name around and see how you do and see how you feel." I ended up loving it. Was in Kalamazoo, Michigan,
Mhm.
for 3 months. Short season, and but found my love for the game again, and loved America, loved the people I met, and so essentially wanted to somehow figure out a way to stay in America. I then went out to Portland for a little bit, and then ended up signing a contract with Wilmington Hammerheads in the USL in North Carolina.
I was waiting for you to bring up Wilmington because one of our guys who's on the pod, who's unfortunately not being able to make it out to uh, California, he's big Wilmington guy. He's from Wilmington, and it's always his fun fact that whenever we talk about you and we talk about Sacramento, and he always is like, "Never forget, he's a hammerhead." Like, don't. uh,
That's true. Very true. I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for the Hammerheads.
I mean, you know, I mean, you weren't there at the same time, but just want to put the connection there. Both you and Gavin Glinton were both at Charleston, not the same time, obviously, but you both had that connection. I asked him this question. I'm going to ask you the same thing too. When you coach against a club that you played for, does it kind of, remind you of some memories, or is it just it's been so far removed that it's like, oh, yeah, I did do that, but whatever?
Yeah, no, I think whenever you go back to a club that you've played for or a club that you've been a part of, there's always there's always memories, there's always good times that you think back to. But then obviously when it comes game time, you're fixed on your team and trying to beat your old team, so to speak. But I think the having those memories, I've got some incredible memories of Wilmington, that I still think about and will always think about and treasure. And like I say, Wilmington's played a huge part in my career, both the city and the team.
How did you go from being the player to being the assistant to being the coach? How did that process work for you?
Um, it wasn't planned. Dave
Okay.
Irving was my coach at Wilmington. Incredible guy, um, incredible coach, and he kind of was coming to get into an age where he was didn't want to do everything every single day. I was one of the more experienced guys, older guys on the roster, and he said to me, "Hey, I want you to start running things." And I was like, "Well, I'm still playing at the moment." And he's like, "I know you can still play, but I want you to do this." So I kind of got through into it a little bit, um, and then just started doing it, started learning, started growing while trying to stay fit. And then in the off season, instead of going home, I actually stayed in Wilmington and started coaching properly um, a U12 girls team, and that was my first, real step into coaching. And then I ended up staying and playing again, then coaching the off season, and then I stopped playing and really focused on the coaching and coached all different ages within the youth setup at Wilmington, and then became the academy director, then became the technical director, while also being the first team assistant coach, and then became the head coach of the first team in its last year of existence.
When you're at a club, unfortunately, that is was about to go under, that did not survive. That we always kind of hear these horror stories in the U.S. It happens, unfortunately, quite frequently, and us doing what we do here at the USL Show, like we hear things a couple days early, and sometimes we'll find out the news, and there will be times where players or unfortunately coaches, it's happened in the past, will message us and be like, is this actually happening? Because we found out before they did. How was the process for you in Wilmington?
It's never an easy process, never an easy process. The owner at that time had decided that it wasn't for him, and for whatever reason chose, that he had to end the professional team. Fortunately, we were given a heads up on the process. So we knew kind of halfway through the season that this was going to happen, which, I think it's all how you look at it and how you manage it. Like we all knew that the club was going to come to an end, The season before I got the job, they'd finished complete bottom of the league, not in a good shape. So we just decided as a team and a group of players and a staff that okay, the team might be going out of business, but we can do one or two things. We can sit here and worry about it and what we're going to do next and be in a negative headspace, or we can say, hey, it is what it is. Let's enjoy the time we have together and let's make the most of the time we have together. And fortunately for me, we did that, and we had a good run in the Open Cup. We reached the quarterfinals against Real Salt Lake. We lost on penalties in extra time. Sorry, we lost on penalties after extra time, being 2-2, and should have won the game. Um, and I think we finished 1 point out of on the same points as Orlando, but Orlando may have beaten us to the last playoff spot on a budget of 220 grand. So we punched above our weight, but we had made it enjoyable, and we beat Nesta's Miami when they were spending loads of money in the NASL and had big players playing for them, and we beat them in Miami. And then we had a really good run against, Rail Salt Lake, which ultimately led to me moving to Rail Salt Lake because after that game, I was pulled into the back office and asked if I wanted to join Rail Salt Lake by the then sporting director, Craig Weibel.
I mean, I guess really without Wilmington, what would you? I mean, that's unbelievable. Um, I'm gonna have you just for a few more minutes, so I have a couple more questions for you. You mentioned experienced players that you have. And I don't think there's any person more beloved in the community around the USL and just US soccer than Roro Lopez,
Yeah.
right? And obviously he comes down with an injury. It really hurts, but just having a guy like him around the locker room, just being a leader, how important is that not just to the other players, but just to you?
Yeah, he's huge. He's huge for me. He's huge for the rest of the staff. He's huge for the team. He's huge for our club. He's one of the best players that I've ever worked with, from a talent perspective, from an attitude perspective, from every perspective you can think of. Roro has it in abundance, and although obviously he got his serious injury against San Jose, he still has an impact on the group. He still finds a way to have a positive influence, a positive impact, which is just credit to him. I can't speak highly enough of him, and so fortunate to have him wearing this crest behind me and being a part of.
Someone that's with Roro is obviously his son Roman, who at the a lot of the USL learned about, and just US soccer really learned all about this year with what happened with his heart surgery and stuff like that. Obviously, his teammate is the one that kind of went behind his back and started the GoFundMe, and you know. He said himself that Roro didn't know about it and didn't want anybody to really kind of know about it, but he did it anyway. How does that really speak to just kind of the family atmosphere around the club?
Yeah, it shows the culture we have. It shows the environment we have, and we always talk about family and how important family is and how we need to be a family. But we don't just talk about it. We try and act it. We try and live it. We try and feel it on a daily basis. And I think that what Luis Felipe did spoke volumes. And before the Seattle game, I showed a video, and it was all of people's families wishing good luck and this and that. And Roman did one,
Yeah.
and Roman spoke to the guys, and I think when it was sent to me before I showed the guys, it made me emotional because he's with us on the field. He's back on the field with us now. He's out on the grass. He's warming up the goalkeepers with the guys. He's doing the warm up with the team. He's a part of this club. He's a part of this team, and what Roro and Roman and his family went through and continue to go through, just shows the the indomitable spirit that they have in overcoming all the things that they've had to overcome, and then for Roro, the injury, and it's actually kind of not what Roro wanted, but they're kind of recovering together, you know. Roman from his heart surgery and Roro from his ACL, so they're on this pathway, but in a beautiful way. It's actually pretty unique and allows them to recover together while trying to help our team and help their family.
You know, you kind of talk about the indomitable spirit, and that's one thing that really does summarize Sacramento. Like every time we talk about your stadium, like I always call it the den of the indomitable because no one goes there and wins, right? And obviously, this year has not been as perfect as it has been in years past. It's
Right.
almost impossible to uphold that level of perfection for as long as you have anyway. But one of those blemishes, unfortunately, was against Oakland, your in-state rival, who you are playing this Sunday, which was also the last time that you guys initially came out in that two striker setup with that 3-5-2 that I kind of got to know you guys at you as, and you guys have since moved to this uh like 5-3 or 5-4-1, and obviously some personnel has changed. We talk about Roro not being around. We talk about Russell Cicerone, who got hurt, unfortunately. You do have this two just gifts. I say gifts. They work very hard, but Trevor Amon, and then you have a Garrett Phillips, who are both just unbelievable players. Why the change? As someone who's not as smart as you, I would think put them both up top because they're both brilliant strikers. Why would you not want them both up there? What was kind of thought process on that?
Yeah, look, I think over the last 2 years, probably not looking at this season, we've been in a 3-4-3 system. The players are very comfortable within that system and understand that system. And when you play with two forwards, it kind of adjusts and changes certain roles and responsibilities within that system. Now we defend 5-4-1, so from a defensive standpoint, there's not too much difference. People understand that, but from an attacking standpoint, I just felt that we weren't getting into the spaces we want to get in. We weren't putting the opposition defensive line, defensive shape under pressure. We weren't causing them enough issues or enough problems. So I think going back to what everybody knows and understands has helped a little bit. Now we've got to make sure that our standards and our confidence and our belief in what we're trying to do and what we're trying to achieve are at the level that allows us to get results, because it hasn't been at that level, and we all know that, which is why we've given up results to Oakland, to Tampa, to Las Vegas that we shouldn't really be giving up.
You know, let's kind of just stay on this previous Oakland match just for a second. It was 3-0, should have been 4-0, but Danny makes a brilliant stop to keep you guys in the game. And then towards the end of the game, you get one goal back, you get two goals back, and it felt like the third one was coming, but just time ran out on you a little bit. We saw what Sacramento did after unfortunately conceding a last minute equalizer against Orange County the first game of the season. You
Yeah.
guys end up going to Orange County and so, I know you won't say this, but kind of beat the brakes off of them. Like you absolutely just ran over them. Is there a level of this is not the right word, but I can't think of another way to put it, but almost like a pissed offness of just like we we dug ourselves a hole. We were a better team in that. We're going to go show them who we really are.
Look, I think when you represent a club of Sacramento's stature and caliber, with that comes a pressure. With that comes a pride. And I think there's been games, especially at home this year, where that hasn't been there. Now that's unacceptable. And there's been a few games, especially Oakland, where it was embarrassing. It was embarrassing for me to be the coach of that team. It was embarrassing for our fans. It was embarrassing for our players. To perform at that level is unacceptable. Um, so there is a feeling of we've got to put some pride back into our team. We've got to put some pride back into our fans. Now it doesn't matter that it's Oakland. Yeah, that's irrelevant. It's obviously Oakland's a local rivalry, and that's our next game. But we've got to put some pride back into this badge, back into our club. Oakland's now the next game, which gives us the opportunity to do that. But it's about us, and it's about getting back to what we've made a name for ourselves in doing over the last few years, and that's doing the basics to a very high standard. So we've got to get back to doing those things, and the results will follow.
Got one last question for you, and it is: you guys have a lot of fans who are taking buses and going in carpools, and it's bound to be a lot of Sacramento Republic fans making their way to Oakland. To those fans who are able to make the trip, and to the Sacramento fans who are going to be at home, what message do you have to them?
First and foremost, thank you. Thank you for being willing to spend your hard-earned money and travel the hour and a half, the 2 hour trip down to Oakland. And I can promise you that the team will perform this weekend, and the team will make you guys proud. And it will be a good occasion for USL, for the atmosphere, for the environment. But we're going to turn up this weekend.
Mark, I just want you to know I'm a Birmingham Legion fan, but right now I'm about to run through a brick wall for Sacramento. I don't know what that means, but if there are Sacramento fans, they're our biggest demographic if we're being honest. So there's probably a lot of them who are about to head down to Sacramento early and start partying like 3 days before the match. So just go ahead, send apologies down to whoever you have to in Oakland because the party is starting immediately, man.
That's it, mate. But no, I'm fortunate that we have the fans we do, and I love the support they give us, and so thankful for everything they do for us.
Well, listen, thank you all so much for listening. Thank you so much for popping on, Mark. I really appreciate you taking the time after training. Cannot wait to see you guys in person and how this match ends up unfolding.
You never know in these local derby games, but it'll be a good game. That's for sure.
All right. Thank you all so much for listening. I really appreciate you guys listening to the USL show. It shows some love to all the people who put this together. And really, I do appreciate you taking the time, Mark.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate you having me on.
Cool.